How's it going here, and welcome to my camera comparison between the Vivo X100 Ultra and the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, two of the best smartphone cameras here in 2024, with the S24 Ultra coming out at the beginning of the year and the X100 Ultra being released about mid-year. They both had a few different software updates, so I thought it'd be interesting to take a look at how their cameras are performing and how they each compare here towards the end of the year. And so quickly switching over to some cinematic or portrait style videos, so this artificial background blur from these front-facing cameras here in this particular indoor setting, so you can compare it to the previous footage from the front-facing cameras without this effect. And so a quick note, the Vivo is limited to 1080p in this particular mode, while the Samsung can record at 4K, and that's just for the front-facing cameras. The rear cameras on the Vivo in cinematic portrait can record in 4K. So with that out of the way, like I always do, I'm going to show you a bunch of photos and videos in both good and low light conditions, so you can decide for yourself which of these two smartphone camera systems are best for your smartphone camera needs. So go ahead and take a look at all the photos and videos and let me know what you think. Everyone, so here's a video test of the rear cameras on the Vivo X100 Ultra and Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. This is the ultra wide angle camera started out on each at 4K 30 frames per second. So I'm just going to pan around here with the ultra wide angle cameras to give you a side-by-side view of what these look like here in the park. As you can see, a lot of the fall colors are really coming in now. That just happened in the last maybe couple days here. So let's go ahead and move into the main lens. So on the Vivo and on the Samsung. So you can see the main lens pop in, colors may have changed. So I'm just going to pan around again just to give you a side-by-side view of this scene with these main cameras here in the park. Lots of colors, so it should be a good test here. Let's pan up to see if it readjusts for exposure in the sky. No clouds at all, so it's really just a lot of blue and a lot of fall colors and green, so really nice out here. And we'll pan around this way just to test the zoom on the cell tower. So we do have the 3.7 85mm telephoto lens on the Vivo. And we have a 3x telephoto here on the Samsung. You saw it pop in. And then Samsung also has this 5x telephoto. You saw that pop in. And we can move into a 10x digital here on the Vivo. 250mm equivalent, I think, and a 10x here on the S24 Ultra. So just side by side of the 10x zoom here on each. Both looking pretty clear and pretty steady. And we can move into a max 20 times on the Vivo and a max 20 times on the S24 Ultra. So again, I'm just panning side by side so you can see both of these next to each other. Both look very good, very clear for 20x zoom, and we'll back this out to the main lens on each, and let's test autofocus here on the post. So pretty snappy focus and refocus away, and pretty tough I think in the shade, a lot less light here for it to utilize to focus in on. And one more time. All right, there we go. And so let's go ahead and do a stabilization test. Walking briskly down the stairs and through this path, side-by-side view of that stabilization. And I'll just jog to try to stress that stabilization out. So there you go, a quick 4K video test from the rear camera on the Vivo X100 Ultra and Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. So here's a test of the rear cameras on the Vivo X100 Ultra and Galaxy S24 Ultra. This is going to be cinematic portrait video on the Vivo and portrait video here on the Samsung. And so this is the artificial background blur that you're seeing right now. And they both can record in 4K from this mode. Although the Vivo is limited to 1080p from the front-facing camera, it can record in 4K here. And so the sun is coming off my right, so you can see what it looks like here with the picture quality. And if I pan around this way, you can see how the effect holds up into some direct sunlight shining into the cameras. And if I pan all the way around, you can see how this effect holds up with the sun shining directly on me, which should be as good as possible because the effect requires a lot of light, even though there's going to be some shade off the brim of my cap here. But if you turn around this way, we'll just start walking so you can see how this effect holds up with some movement. But let me know what you think about the cinematic video here on the Vivo and portrait video here on the S24 Ultra rear cameras. So here's a video test of the front-facing cameras on the Vivo X100 Ultra and the Galaxy S24 Ultra. This is being shot at 4K 30 frames per second. As you can see, I'm outdoors right now and the sun is coming off my right, so you can see what it's doing with the shadows across my face and the overall exposure to the video. And of course, if I go ahead and pan around this way, you can see what it looks like with the sun shining directly into those cameras right there and how that's affecting picture quality. And we'll go ahead and pan around this way. You can see what it looks like with it now shining directly more onto my face. Yes, there's going to be some shade on from the bill of my cap, but overall picture quality and exposure should look pretty even right now. So let's go ahead and pan around this way, and we'll just walk to test the stabilization so you can see what that looks like from the front facing cameras side by side. So let me know what you think about the quality here of the front-facing cameras on the X100 Ultra and S24 Ultra. Hey everyone, we're back with the front-facing cameras on the X100 Ultra and the S24 Ultra. This time we've got cinematic video on the Vivo and portrait video on the Samsung, so you're going to see this artificial background blur right now. And important to note that the Vivo is limited to 1080p in this mode, while the S24 Ultra can record in 4K. So I'm just going to pan around so you can see how the picture quality and the effect holds up with some changing light, so you can see with the sun now shining directly into it. And of course we'll just continue to pan around. Now the sun is shining directly onto me, which should be making this effect look the best it can because it does require a good amount of light. And we'll pan this way just so we can walk, so we can show you what this looks like here with some movement and how this effect holds up. So let me know what you think about cinematic video on the Vivo and portrait video here on the S24 Ultra. So here's a low light video test of the rear cameras on the Vivo X100 Ultra and Galaxy S24 Ultra. This is the ultra wide angle camera to start out on each at 4K, 30 frames per second. So I'm just going to pan around here to give you a side-by-side view of how these ultra wide angle cameras perform in this particular setting. Let's go ahead and try to move into the main camera on the Vivo and on the Samsung. So as you can see, the tree line, you're going to see it brighten up because the main camera is letting more light there. And the Vivo is looking a little out of focus. Let me tap to focus real quick. And there you go, it's looking a lot better there. Everything brightens up, looks better. Let's see if it makes a difference on the Samsung. Tap to focus. No, still looks pretty clear in the viewfinder. So let's go to a side-by-side panning here, so you can just see the full scene side by side with these main cameras and how they perform with that really bright street light. And if we go back here, we'll test the zoom out here. So 3x telephoto on the Samsung and 3.7x telephoto here on the Vivo. And so this is where the larger sensor on the Vivo makes a difference. It looks a lot clearer in the viewfinder, a lot brighter. A weird kind of tint here on the Samsung, at least what I'm seeing again in the viewfinder. And we'll go into, actually let's go ahead and pan around so you can see telephoto, a little more light, how that's particularly performing here and what that looks like. And then we can move into a 5x telephoto here on the Samsung. So there's a 5x telephoto lens, and we can move into a 5x zoom here on the Vivo. And again, I'll just do a quick pan so you can kind of see how that looks with some different light here, a little bit more light, and back around to the right. And so let's go ahead and pan in this way and test 10x zoom here and 10x zoom here on the Vivo. So let's try to get this sign and see if you can read the clarity there on both. All right, and let's go ahead and back out to the full 1x, and we'll pan around this way. And we'll just start walking to test stabilization and also some different lighting conditions. Obviously, that was really bright light back there. Now it's a little bit less light down this pathway. And as we round the corner, it'll be bright light again. So we can kind of test how it handles changing lighting conditions from light to dark to light. You can already see that bright light around the corner right now at the end of the pathway. And also you can see if there's any micro jitters, which is pretty common. And we'll pull up here and we'll just point up at the night sky, which will probably have some noise because of that bright light coming off the right. But take a look at, see what you see here. And I'll point down this alleyway here, mixed lighting from the bright light off to my right, as well as some of the light coming off the building. So let me know what you think about this nighttime 4K footage here on the X100 Ultra and Galaxy S24 Ultra. Alright, so here's some low-light video from the front-facing cameras on the Vivo X100 Ultra and Galaxy S24 Ultra. This is being shot at 4K, 30 frames per second, and I'm in some pretty ideal lighting conditions here, even at night. So you can see how these front-facing cameras do with some pretty good light around it. And also point up here so you can see what that really bright light does shining directly into those cameras. And most cameras are going to flare that out, and I'm just showing it to you in case you're out and about and you want to shoot with these front-facing cameras. You can know what to expect if there are some really bright lights around you. And also you can see how this stabilization compares here side by side in some low light, as well as a little bit less light here in this particular area. And we'll just move around and pull up here, and we'll pan all the way around so I can show you the really bright street lights behind me and how these front-facing cameras handle a bunch of those pointed directly into the camera. But I'll go ahead and come back to this area here where there's less light so you can see side by side how that looks in this particular lighting situation. But do let me know what you thought about the comparison between the X100 Ultra and S24 Ultra. Which Ultra do you think did better, and which one would you rather use for your smartphone camera usage? Personally, I thought they both did well in daylight, as you would expect. The S24 Ultra actually surprised me and made it a lot closer, only because of the larger type 1-inch type sensor on the Vivo. And I thought video overall looked better on the Samsung out of the box. But of course, Vivo does have the flexibility to shoot, especially in log format, if you like to color correct and color grade your footage to get it to how you want it to look. But the real thing for the Vivo I thought outshined the S24 Ultra was in low light, especially with the telephoto sensor. It's much larger and it really shows in much lower lighting conditions. Images, especially the portraits and just general telephoto shots, came out looking a lot clearer and a lot better. Even in the video you saw, the footage looked a lot brighter and clearer through the telephoto lens on the Vivo. So just the sensor size definitely matters there on the Vivo. But of course, if you don't care about zoom or anything like that, then you might be perfectly fine with the S24 Ultra, especially if you're shooting mostly in ideal lighting conditions. But that's just my brief thoughts and my personal opinion. But do let me know what you thought and which one you would personally prefer. If you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below and I'll be glad to answer what I can. And as always, thanks for watching.